It's really hard to do anything about that empty feeling you have when it's the end of the day. Because emptiness does tend to happen for me at the end of the day. If it happens at the start of the day, sometimes there's something I can do about it. But if it's at the end of the day, because this is what I'm gonna talk about my theory about emptiness and what I think emptiness is caused by. I think emptiness is caused by when you have a desire for something, and when you repress that desire because you believe it's unattainable, and then you feel like you have no will to live, or you just feel like really bored, you feel really just kind of like unsatisfied, but because you repress that desire, you don't know why you feel like that. So that's what I think. It's probably been said before, but that's just my theory based on my intuition. So when you go back to your initial desire, but the thing is, the problem is, because of the journey that you took from repressing your desire to the point that you got to the point of emptiness, on that journey, you stopped caring about what you initially cared about. Because sometimes you are so good because you've trained yourself to stop caring about things, you actually stop caring about it. And I will never know if whether that's for the better or worse. Because nothing is certain in life at all. And the problem with emptiness is that when you feel empty, you revert to your negative. The problem with emptiness isn't just the feeling. The biggest problem with emptiness is the fact that the things that you might do while you feel empty. For example, you might get into your bad habits again, your bad coping mechanisms. So I guess the solution is to just be aware of how you feel, which is why I'm talking, to just reinforce my awareness of what I'm experiencing, and the fact that it is not something abnormal, and it is not because my life is bad or because I'm mentally bad. It's because perhaps we can talk about why do we repress our desires, and it's because when you care about something so much, it's almost better to forget it exists than to consciously lose it in front of you. For example, it's applicable to all contexts of desire. I think that it's easier to just forget about it than to just feel it's really ruminating in it or whatever, the fact that you can't have that. So unconsciousness, when you force yourself to become unconscious to things, it just leads to a pit. And as I say this, I know that the other option is not necessarily good. It's kind of like you're in a rock in a hard place, because the alternative is to really face it, and facing it doesn't really. Sometimes when you forget about things though, instead of being empty, you find something else to fill the void, and sometimes that can stimulate you, because stimulation is the root of so many mental experiences. It's insane. Like depression is like you don't have enough stimulation. Anxiety, whatever, overstimulation, I think. No, it's probably not. It's more just like the anticipation of negative events. But it's just stimulation, and the role it plays in your livelihood is insane. And it's what leads people to do bad things. The negative coping mechanisms that you have, it's because you want to be stimulated. But we're scared of emptiness, because when you're empty, there's a possibility you can have a good thing come in, you can have a bad thing come in. And it's almost like when you use your negative coping mechanisms, you self-sabotage before something out of your hands comes and makes it bad for you. So you self-sabotage. So at least you feel, because when you self-sabotage, isn't this crazy? I'm going to do some serious mental reflection right now. When you self-sabotage, you can tell yourself, oh, well, you could still, this sounds crazy, I'm not sure if anyone else can relate to this, but when you self-sabotage, for example, say you push someone away or something, you can almost tell yourself later, oh, well, if I hadn't self-sabotaged, this would have happened, it would have been good, this is my fault, because the alternative is the fact that it could have never happened, or the fact that it was never in your hands in the first place. So it's actually insane. I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, I can only speak for myself, and I imagine that a lot of other people feel the same, even if they don't understand the way I'm conveying this. I just know that it is a part of the human experience, because and that's just something I have to remind myself. Anything I feel is not unique to myself, and it sounds like incredibly narcissistic to even feel like that, but like, it's just sometimes a lot of people they're not open about the way they feel, and it's kind of interesting when you repress the way you feel, because sometimes it's good, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know if I've ever done the right, it's like if you wanted to get really, I don't know, deep, it's like, have I ever done anything right? Like, was there a right path? There isn't really, because it's kind of crazy, it's getting deep. Yeah, everything kind of gets really deep sometimes, like, and you don't really have an answer, you're just kind of running in circles, and you're running in circles until we find a temporary distraction, a temporary dream, a desire, a fixation, an obsession. That's just how I feel at the moment, and I'm not in a bad place in my life. Sometimes I just get, I don't know, sometimes yeah, I'm not even necessarily in a really bad mood or sad mood, that's just like